You can have.
Main event of the evening.
Ready to race to you.
These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today, we are discussing Season 7, Episode 21, Fools Rush In.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in Fools Rush In.
We open with Joanie coming home to tell Marion something. Marion can't stay long. She's got to get a dress for this Saturday.
Well, Saturday's your bonking night, Mom.
Well, this Saturday is special. It's our anniversary.
Which is the 28th anniversary of her first date with Howard, in his cousin George's LaSalle. Marion remembers it every year, but Howard never does. Joanie says her thing can wait, and Marion leaves. Richie and Lori Beth enter, and Joanie tells her brothers she has a dating problem.
Well, I've got a problem, but it's really not in your area. It's about dating.
Not my area.
She and Chachi have been going out for a while, but Chachi's been distant and hasn't even held her hand. Joanie's afraid she's boring.
What do you think?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Richard!
But Richie insists Chachi is just shy. In Fonzie's apartment, Chachi is asking Fonzie for advice with Joanie, who he really likes but always feels nervous around.
You see, it's from all those years that I was shorter than her.
Yeah.
Ralph shows up to ask where Richie is, and Fonzie brings him in to ask Ralph for his dating technique. Nobody takes Ralph seriously, but he still dates. Ralph says he likes to make girls feel at ease by making them laugh.
On the way out to the car, I pretend to trip, you know? Excuse me.
Fonzie sends Ralph away. Back in the house, Joanie is asking Lori Beth for advice.
Richie thinks he's afraid of me, so he won't even kiss me. Oh, you mean like Richie?
Lori Beth says Richie didn't touch her for 3 months, but she finally won him over by making him a dinner. Joanie decides to invite Chachi for dinner.
Why are we giving this man a dinner when some of the greatest people in the history of the world never got a dinner?
Hopefully, he's not more interested in Jenny Piccolo than in her. The next day at Arnold's, when Joanie is about to ask Chachi over, Potsie asks Joanie to babysit his 2 cousins on Saturday.
Look, my aunt asked me to babysit my 2 cousins Saturday night for Rich's 2 extra tickets to Bobby Rydell. Oh, could you do it for me?
Joanie agrees, and then asks Chachi over for dinner that night, since her parents will be out and Richie will be out too. Chachi accepts, and excitedly tells Al he's going to make his move.
Sorry, Chachi, I'm busy Saturday night.
Saturday night, Marion is wearing her new dress when Howard comes home. He asks why she's all gussied up when it's bowling night, but then reveals that he knows it's their anniversary and he was joking. He also claims that he knew all along and was pretending to forget for 27 years so tonight would be a surprise, but Marion correctly guesses that Joanie told him. To celebrate, they'll be going out in cousin George's LaSalle, but since it doesn't run anymore, Howard is having it towed up to Inspiration Point.
Mr. C, a romantic evening. The Fonz driving a tow truck.
The doorbell rings. It's Potsie and his younger cousins, Sally and Michael, the latter of whom is getting over a cold.
I'm Sally. I'm Michael. Did he just say Michael?
As Joanie takes them upstairs, Chachi arrives in a suit. Richie and Potsie leave, and Joanie comes downstairs. She says Chachi's suit makes him look older.
Does it make me look old?
Not at all.
Oh?
Oh, unless you wanted to.
At least 18, and he gives her flowers and a half-empty box of chocolate. They're about to kiss when Michael comes downstairs, demanding water. After dinner, Chachi turns on the radio and invites Joanie to dance. They slow dance, until Michael comes downstairs demanding more water. As Joanie takes care of the dishes, Chachi takes care of Michael by physically threatening him if he comes downstairs again.
If you come down one more time, I'm gonna hurt your little body.
Are you kidding?
No.
When Sally comes downstairs saying Michael is making funny noises, Chachi makes her go back upstairs. Joanie comes out of the kitchen, and she and Chachi go out to kiss when Chachi stops and admits that he threatened Michael into staying upstairs, and he's having trouble breathing. They bring the kids down, and Chachi recognizes that Michael needs to breathe steam.
Steam?
Yeah, like in the bathroom with a hot shower running. It'll clear him up.
All right. I don't want to take a shower.
No, you don't get in the shower. We run the hot water, you inhale the steam. Now, come on.
While Joanie calls the doctor. As they wait for the doctor, Joanie waits on the couch for Chachi, who is covered in water from turning on the shower.
I went from dapper to drippy.
Embarrassed, he tries to leave, but Joanie kisses him, and Chachi sticks around.
I think you're very dapper.
That night, Joanie and Richie are pacing the living room until 3 a.m., because Howard and Marion still aren't home from their date. Just then, the Cunningham parents enter, and Richie and Joanie scold their mother and father for arriving home late and worrying them.
Well, it's late. Go on up to your room. We'll talk about it in the morning.
Thank you, Peter. That was Fools Rush In. It first aired back on February 26, 1980. On this momentous night, Happy Days was reunited with Laverne and Shirley, which aired the first half of its two-parter, Murder on the Moose Jaw Express.
Tuesday, Laverne and Shirley get back together with Fonzie and the whole gang. Once again, they're back-to-back with Happy Days when Chachi finally decides to try a kiss on Joanie. Then Laverne and Shirley take the Moose Jaw Express and become targets of a madman's dagger.
Tomorrow on ABC.
CBS aired a new episode of The White Shadow in which a team from the Soviet Union stops by Carver High to play an exhibition game, but there's nearly an international incident when one of the players tries to defect.
Oh, you slay me, brother.
And NBC had a new episode of The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo in which Lobo spots a UFO while transporting strippers to the county line.
What happened, Sheriff? Well, I lost control.
When the spacecraft flew over.
So, Peter, of those three choices, what are you watching?
Sheriff Lobo! Holy
Shnikes.
Wow. I am amazed that Sheriff Lobo doesn't have more of a pop culture impact, despite every episode sounding like the most wild thing ever.
Sheriff Lobo, they never should have canceled that show.
They were trying to top themselves seemingly every week with a new absurd and outrageous plotline. I would be tempted to stick around through Happy Days to catch the return of Laverne and Shirley, but obviously the Lobo episode is hard to resist. Fools Rush In was directed by Jerry Paris, and it was written by Beverly Bloomberg. The most recent of Beverly's episodes that we covered was their closing inspiration point. As for guest stars this week, let's start with Morgan Hart as Angela, Fonzie's girlfriend of the week.
I need to dance with you.
Morgan is an actress from Los Angeles who was near the beginning of her career when she did this episode. Her other TV credits include The Incredible Hulk, The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo, Good Time Girls, Vegas, Dallas, 8 is Enough, Matt Houston, Simon & Simon, and Riptide. She's also in the 1981 horror movie Madhouse.
Look, honey, do you think I'm crazy, Helen?
She met her future husband, Donnie Most, while making this episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were wed in 1982, and she is now Morgan Most. So, Peter, what did you think of Morgan Hart as Angela?
I'm very happy that she met her future husband on the set of this episode, and I'm very glad that they're still married, but she doesn't really do anything. She just makes out with Fonzie a little.
Yeah, they didn't give her anything to do. She doesn't interact with Ralph at all, which surprised me. We also have Heidi Bohey as Margaret, Joni's friend at Arnold's.
So give out some information. What's Chachi really like on a date?
Heidi is an actress from New Jersey who is best known for her role as Megan Kendall on the primetime soap opera Hotel.
Motel, Holiday Inn.
Her other TV credits include Buck Rogers, Chips, Quincy, Murder, She Wrote, Arliss, Cold Case, and The Defenders. She was also a celebrity panelist on many, many, many game shows. Match Game, Hollywood Squares, Pyramid, etc. The Game Show Network even had her hosting a show called GSN Live in 2008 and 2009. Peter, what did you think of Heidi Bohey as Margaret?
She doesn't really do much either. The most she does is ask Joanie about what it's like dating Chachi because she thinks he must be a real tiger, and that just made me slightly ill.
I would say that Heidi does an okay job with the role of Margaret. I can imagine Margaret being used in multiple episodes as a friend to Joanie, someone with whom Joanie can carry on a conversation.
So far, Joanie doesn't really have any consistent friends, which feels like a weird choice. I'm not looking forward to next season, but I am looking forward to Joanie finally getting a friend who's a recurring character.
It took the show way, way too long to give Joanie a recurring friend. Most of her friends come and go from episode to episode. We also have Gary Marshall's real-life kids, Kathleen and Scott, appearing as Sally and Michael. The last time we saw them was in The Magic Show. So, Peter, what did you think of Gary Marshall's kids in this episode?
I would say Scott has the more fun role. He gets to play someone who's getting over a cold, so he gets to have kind of the nasally accent. And he also gets to threaten Potsie with physical harm when he finds out that he has to go stay upstairs and there's no TV there.
I'm gonna get you for this, Potsie.
And it's Potsie's fault because he's having them be babysat there. Sadly, Sally just gets saddled with commenting that Chachi is dreamy at one point, which, oh, kid, no.
Both Kathleen and Scott seem to be having a lot of fun doing this episode, so I was fine with them. As for songs this week, nothing special. We get It's Now or Never by Elvis Presley and Theme from a Summer Place by Percy Faith, both of which we've already heard this season. As for cultural and historical references, the phrase "fools rush in where angels fear to tread" is a line from Alexander Pope's an essay on criticism, first published in 1711. It's actually a poem, and Happy Days has quoted it before, specifically the line, "To err is human, to forgive divine." LaSalle's are mentioned a lot in this episode.
Your father and I went for a drive in his cousin George's LaSalle. That's a car.
LaSalle was a line of luxury cars from General Motors. They were produced for just 13 years, starting in 1927 and ending in 1940 when the brand was folded into GM's Cadillac line. By the time this episode came out, LaSalle's were most famous for being mentioned in the All in the Family theme song.
Gee, our old LaSalle ran great.
The term all gussied up, meaning overdressed, started in the United States in the 1930s. It may come from a 19th century slang term, gussy, meaning a weak or effeminate person.
Gussied up?
He's a hep cat.
Hep cat is another 1930s slang term. It means a sophisticated, stylish person. Had you heard the term all gussied up?
Yeah, here and there. It's not like super common, but it shows up now and then, usually ironically.
I had never thought of it as a slang term that was particular to any era. That's obviously how it's used here. It's supposed to evoke the 1930s. I just thought it was a synonym for overdressed. So that was an education for me. Potsie is going to see Bobby Rydell in concert.
Bobby Rydell. Gee, I wonder if he's as excited as I am.
Bobby is a pop singer from Philadelphia who was a teen idol of the late 50s and early 60s. Potsie actually covered one of Bobby's songs, Wild One, in Marion's Misgivings. I realized this week that I don't know the music of Bobby Rydell all that well. When you think of pop stars of the 50s, yeah, Bobby Rydell. And then you try to remember any Bobby Rydell songs, and I couldn't do it.
He's no Fabian.
Fonzie says, head him up, move him out.
All right, head him up, move him out. I got the tow truck all fired up.
These are lyrics from the theme song to the TV Western Rawhide.
Move 'em on, hit 'em up, hit 'em up, move 'em on, hit 'em up, rawhide.
That show ran from 1959 to 1965. The theme was composed by Dmitri Tiomkin with lyrics by Ned Washington. Richie says Lori Beth served him Cheerios. This cereal was originally known as Cheery Oats. When it debuted in 1941, a competitor threatened to sue over copyright infringement, so the name was shortened to Cheerios in 1945.
Cheerios are a breakfast cereal.
My kids eat them all the time.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
Well, no, not personally. I don't eat them personally, no.
Beg pardon?
Cheerios are just for the children. You know, little O's.
I'm actually surprised that Cheerios is that recent. I thought it would have been introduced around the dawn of time. But the album that Potsie is holding is Hold That Tiger.
That's a Fabian album.
Yeah, they were out of Bobby Rydell.
First released by Fabian in 1958. The title comes from a line in The Tiger Rag.
Hold that tiger, turn me loose.
Chachi compares himself to Fred Astaire.
Do I look like Fred Astaire?
All right.
Fred Astaire was the singer, dancer, and actor from Omaha, Nebraska, who became one of Hollywood's biggest stars of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, almost entirely due to his roles in movie musicals like Top Hat, Easter Parade, Swing Time, and Silk Stockings. Other observations this week. Howard and Marion started dating 28 years ago. That puts their courtship at around 1933. I'm not going to even begin cross-referencing this with other episodes since I doubt that the writers did. I've completely lost the thread of the timeline on Happy Days.
Time is weird on the show. Happy Days likes to play fast and loose with the concept of history.
It bothers me to no end that Richie leaves the front door of the house open for so long. Close the damn door, Richie! What's going on there?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be summer because he and Lori Beth were eating ice cream. You're letting all the air conditioning out, Richie.
God, that gets me mad. You want to close that goddamn door, please? You want to close the door? You're letting out all of the coldness I saved overnight.
Howard's going to be very perturbed at you.
The thing is, obviously, these things are filmed on sound stages. Those doors don't actually lead anywhere. But come on, please, for my sake. I can't concentrate on anything else if you leave the front door open.
You got to preserve the illusion.
Exactly. I kind of love that Richie has this diluted self-image, i.e. thundering steam engine.
Richie Cunningham knows no fear. I am a thundering steam engine. I get the feeling and I just swing with it.
Richie seems to think of himself as this sexual dynamo.
He spends a lot of time with Fonzie. Maybe he thinks that some of Fonzie's sexual charisma has worn off on him. At any rate, Richie does seem to keep Lori Beth pretty happy, so...
Obviously something's working there.
Women have written things in my high school yearbook that you're too young to read. That I'm too young to read.
And I like that in this episode, Ralph is like a vampire. You have to invite him in.
That's right. Richie ain't here, but I'm going to invite Malf in. He's going to tell us about his technique in dating chicks.
He can't just walk across the transom of Fonzie's apartment. You have to invite him in, and now he's in.
And then he won't leave until you kick him out.
Lori Beth says that Richie didn't touch her for 3 months. Not true. They had a full-on makeout session in Lori Beth's dorm room the very first day they started dating.
My explanation for that is Lori Beth is just lying because she wants to be nice to Joanie and commiserate with her. And also, like, nobody wants to talk about making out with their boyfriend to said boyfriend's younger sibling. She's just lying so that she can give Joanie advice and pretend that she knows what she's talking about.
Well, that's nice of Lori Beth to try and relate to Joanie in this situation.
It is.
And I guess the new Arnold's has new uniforms for the waitresses. They look to be wearing black ballerina outfits and neck scarves. Did you notice that?
Very pseudo-beatniky, which I guess makes sense for the coffee house atmosphere.
That's what I thought they were going for, was a beatnik look. I thought it was very cool. And I'm pretty sure that the record player in the Cunningham's living room is the same one that Fonzie had in his apartment. Also, Howard's chair is gone this week. Howard has a quantum easy chair. It's sometimes there and it sometimes isn't. And the reason why I noticed that record player is I have the same exact record player in my apartment now. So,
oh, wow.
Well, I noticed that they used the same tablecloth on Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days, so they were very stingy with props. And I've got to say that Michael does not seem particularly sick when he talks to Chachi.
How would you like to have a real man-to-man talk?
Who with?
You've been up and down those stairs 45 times in the last hour.
I didn't know you could count that high.
Do you think he's just faking it the whole time to sabotage their date?
Yes.
Michael is the hero of this episode.
So, Peter, were there any outstanding Happy Days fashions this week?
Yes. I love the outfit that Marion is wearing at the beginning. She's wearing this absolutely fabulous red suit skirt combo, and she just looks incredibly stylish and striking, and frankly, she looks way better than she does in her date outfit later on, which is this very drab shade of pink. This is back when you dressed up to go shopping.
I'm going shopping, finger, popping on you.
And in that same scene, Lori Beth is wearing this very nice sweater and scarf combo. The sweater is like the perfect midpoint between red and pink, and the scarf is this very nice pink-purple color. Very striking.
I don't know if we're going to mention Chachi's brown suit that everybody makes such a big deal out of.
Oh, hey, hot stuff. Look who's here, huh?
It's a very boring men's suit. That's all
Yeah,
it is.
it doesn't look like anything special, and it gets wrecked by the end of this episode. So, Peter, I will ask that age-old, timeless question. Was this episode any good?
I like the little subplot about Howard and Marion's anniversary of their first date. The main plot being about Joanie and Chachi. As soon as we get to the part where they're on their date and they have to be on screen together for extended periods of time, that makes the episode sink like a lead balloon.
It's difficult to watch an episode like this and not think about the real-life actor Scott Baio, who plays Chachi Arcola, the character on this show.
Yeah.
And that, of course, colors our perception of an episode like Fools Rush In. I will say that Erin Moran is quite charming and funny through this entire episode. I think she gives an excellent performance, and I thought this was a good showcase for her as an actress. She gets to have conversations with Richie, conversations with her mother, conversations with her friend. I think this episode is a good one for Joanie, other than the fact that she's written to want to please Chachi and cook for him and basically fawn all over him, which is not too flattering. But I think that Erin gives a very good performance. So I would say if there's a reason to check out this episode, it's for her performance in it. If this had happened in a Richie Lori Beth story, it would have been cute, where the kids keep coming and interrupting and all that.
Although I will say, extremely bold choice of them to make Chachi threaten a small child with physical harm. Like, he feels bad about it soon afterwards, but like, wow.
Not just a small child, but a sick child. An ill child he threatens with physical violence. So that, I think, is indicative of what kind of person Chachi Arcola is. So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the wonderful things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow us on Twitter at Fonzie Podcast. They can follow me on Twitter at Peter Volfranc. That's PeterVulfranc.
And they can follow me on Twitter at Joe_A_Blevins. They can find this podcast online at thesedaysareurs.libsyn.com. And they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysareuspodcast@gmail.com. So, Peter, what do we have on the docket for next week?
Next week, Howard worries that Richie doesn't like him as a friend in Father and Son.
We're father and son, we'll do it all.
I think this should be a very moving episode, so see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
No, I'm feeling awfully bad. Touch. What a time I've had. Touch. What I didn't button up my overcoat. And all I do is snip. Achoo! Pass that handkerchief. Achoo! What a funny feeling in my eyes and ears and throat. Oh, my day, and oh, my dear, and all I do is just dip that steer. I got a told him I do. Now in his auto, I did go. He said yes, but I said no, 'cause I got it told him I do. 'Cause I got it told him I do.
Yeah.